been kind of a tough road.
When I talked about coming out, that wasn't just a story for, gay people to hear. That was everybody who's tried to figure out how to be who they are. Some people call campaigning.
So picture this. It's spring of 2019. We haven't yet heard of coronavirus. We weren't staying at home. We're facing an insurrection at the Capitol. And a little-known mayor from South Bend, Indiana, says he wants to be president. What happened over the next 12 months, few could have guessed. My next guest got an all-access pass to a presidential campaign unlike any other. His new film follows the rise of Pete Buttigieg's political star on the campaign trail all the way to Washington, albeit not in the office he had hoped for. I spoke with Jesse Moss, director of the documentary called Mayor Pete, on the week of its debut right here in Chicago. Jesse, good morning. Good to see you. I found the movie is fascinating to watch, and obviously you started following Pete very early on in this process. So the first thing that struck me was you seem to have picked him for a subject for a movie before anybody knew that Pete was going to become Pete.
Well, it was early in the campaign. It was after the exploratory, but before the official announcement. I think he had a staff of 5 people. So he was testing the waters, but I think he'd gotten some national news coverage. So he was on my radar, but I don't think he was really on anybody's radar as a credible presidential candidate. But there was just something interesting about him, and I was curious. We had this incredible access, and I thought, let's see what happens.
What's intriguing to me is that Chasten and Pete, they're just like any couple, and they are any couple. But what I mean by that is you use dialogue in the movie where Chasten and Pete make it very clear they need to be authentic, they need to be themselves. And at one point, Pete says the campaign can't change them. Is that part of the driving force here?
I think that was a central question for me, and I think you hear Chasten pose that really to Pete at the beginning of the film, is can you be your authentic self and run for president of the United States? And could Pete do that? Could he remain human? And what's it like to sort of be a private person and a public candidate at the same time? And these are the questions I was fascinated by. And I think the audience will get to watch the film and come to their own conclusions about Pete's journey. But, he was really committed to transparency and letting me in and letting me see their relationship. And I really fell for Chasten too. And I saw that in their connection was a really a whole different dimension to this film that I hadn't anticipated.
The gay issue is prominent in this because it's the first gay couple going for that kind of position, obviously. But it's really interesting, the moments you share with us, holding hands, the constant kiss before Pete goes on stage, that kind of thing. My take on it was not that this isn't about a gay couple. They just happen to be gay. You were showing the life of a couple.
That's right. There's something wonderfully old-fashioned about the relationship. They go on dates to Dairy Queen. They took me along with them, and yet they're totally new and the sort of historic path-breaking in their public relationship on this public stage in a presidential campaign. And you see them navigating these questions in real time and sort of talking about their identities, proud of their identities, and being role models. And Chasten finds himself at helping his husband's candidacy and campaign. And I think that sort of learning process that they're going through and navigating these questions of their identities, and also standing for more than just being a gay candidate. You see Pete embodies so many different things, and that was what's so interesting about him is he cuts across all these lines, and I think why he became the credible candidate that he was and is.
Obviously, he has a tough time, and you show it in the movie, the officer-involved shooting, and we see the town hall meetings. However, what people have to know when they see it now is this was pre-George Floyd. This was, pre the insurrection stuff and all of that. It was a tough moment for him, but really, in many ways, a look ahead into the future.
Absolutely. I think in a large respect, the film is that too. I think it's a conversation we're having about the future of the Democratic Party, and obviously dealing with the structural racism in our society and police violence against people of color. You see Pete have to deal with that directly in South Bend. It's right before the first debate, incredibly dramatic, a scene of him confronting the angry residents of South Bend. And really, there's no page in the campaign manual for how to handle that. And that was fascinating to be ringside, both publicly and privately behind the stage when he was trying to navigate that. And then you see him carry that into the debate and how to confront those questions on stage. So this whole question, and I think it's a kind of a learning curve that Pete goes through too, and sort of talking about trying to connect with African-American voters. You see that later in the film as well.
At one point, he talks about the audacity of being where he is. He talks about Bill Clinton making people like him. Does Pete see himself in the model of Obama or Clinton, then Obama, and then Pete?
I think he would have to answer that question. I mean, he talks about Bill Clinton in the film and thinking he doesn't have that kind of easy, effortless, natural charisma that you assume a presidential aspirant has to have. But I think one thing we know from Obama and from our most recent president is the norms of American politics have been shattered. You know, who as a credible presidential candidate is not what it was a decade ago, or certainly. So I think Pete's success, it shows us that, like, really, he could do plenty well not being Bill Clinton in the room. He has his own charms and gifts, and you know them well. He's incredibly sharp on his feet and very appealing and pretty genuine. And I spent 100 days with him filming this movie, and I found with Pete, what you see is what you get.
The end of the movie, they go home, they put on their slippers, they put on their sweatpants. It looks like any other couple going home. The party's over. Until, of course, he gets the call we don't get, which is Joe Biden, Jill Biden. And one point he goes, "Hello, Mr. President." I'm guessing that's Obama. If that's in fact what happened, to me, that was an interesting way to end the movie. We get the mention of Secretary of Transportation. We see them walking in front of the Capitol at night holding hands. Talk to me about what the end of the movie and what you're saying at the end of the movie for Pete.
Well, that's always a question of documentary, is what's the end of the movie? Because it's real life, right? There's not a final script page that tells you that's the end of the story. And this was, it came as the postscript to the film. We had actually filmed Pete's endorsement of Biden. The appointment came as a surprise. And it's, of course, we mentioned it in the film. We did contemplate this question of, should we keep filming? And could we keep filming? And of course, he's serving in the cabinet, and there are some rules and restrictions that might make that difficult, not to mention political considerations. But I think actually it became pretty clear that that was the end of the journey that we were on with Pete as a candidate. And really a wonderful postscript. You see them starting their new life in Washington.
It's a great look at the life of Mayor Pete and his husband, Chasten. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you. And if you miss it in Chicago, it'll be coming to Amazon Prime in November.
The film is Mayor Pete. It's available for virtual screenings right now in Illinois and Indiana. Just go to chicagofilmfestival.com/film/Mayor Pete. The documentary will be available for streaming nationwide on November 12th on Amazon Prime